Hi, my name is John, and this is Business Update. In this week's episode, we'll be talking about how Tesla is in hot water again with regards to their electric vehicle, in regards of its safety, and is their cars road worthy, or do they need to make a major recall, as this can be dangerous for the public and for automobile owners in general here. And this pertains to investigate and investigation regarding the federal government is probing regarding the Tesla's auto function feature, which has caused almost 200 crashes based on their 830,000 car reporting. Now, obviously, I've been discussing this for the longest time when Tesla tried to market the feature that their vehicles is fully autonomous or is capable of fully autopilot features, which I don't think they've reached that point, and I think there are 5 levels of to be considered fully autonomous, and I think they're only at level 2, and not one car maker in the world currently is able to be considered or can call themselves fully autonomous here, which is the whole point here and can be misconstrued. And I think the public is deceived, not necessarily deceived, but not are being misinformed and considered to be fraudulent if we're to think about it, right? So the question here is what's to be done about it? Well, anyway, let's take a closer look as to what the article is pertaining and what's going to be consequence on the company here. Anyway, according to the article here at businessinsiders.com, it mentions, as earlier, that the federal probe into Tesla's autopilot function intensifies with more than 800,000 vehicles, and almost 200 of those crashes are under investigation regarding to the said features here. Anyway, it mentions here that the NHTSA, or the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is reviewing additional crash data to determine how safe is Tesla's autopilot feature. I think the fact that they're marketing as an autopilot can send mixed signals to the public, that thinking an autopilot, well, technically means it can pilot itself without any human intervention, but that's not the case. And I'm on the side that it shouldn't be called autopilot, and that's a wrong marketing tool. Obviously, it helps their sales, but it should be only called a driver assist because it cannot technically do everything that it's supposed to do. And based on the crashes here, that sometimes it's only able to kick in its features by the time you're about to hit something a second before. And there are times also when an accident can occur when suddenly the car thinks that it needs to brake while you're still in a highway, in a very moving in a very high speed. So imagine the ordeal when you suddenly stop in the middle of an highway or an expressway where there are lots of vehicles moving at very high speeds. Then you can just imagine the horror there. Anyway, it goes on to mention that the agency has also upgraded the probe, which is necessary before any possible recall. But I think they're getting closer to that point because of the number of cases that that deals with the autopilot. I think I have no, for me, I have no problem again with Tesla offering electric vehicles, but the feature that they're offering is not yet fully formed, and I think their engineers have stated that, and Mr. Elon Musk has been sometimes caught being trying to embellish certain features that which is not capable of, apart from the Tesla vehicles. Anyway, it goes on to mention that the NHTSA has said that there is no vehicle currently that is fully automated or self-driving, which goes to my point. Even the government now, the agency has stated that there's no such thing as a fully automated vehicle or self-driving vehicle, which is, I think there should be a penalty levied on the company, because if there's an accident, the key question here is, will the company be held liable, or will this fall on the shoulders on the driver? And if you're the driver, you sue the company because you've been marketed that this said product can do these certain features. Yes, it can do a lot of tremendous things, but it cannot do all of the things that it is advertising, because to be fully automated, it can do the different calculations that a human being does when one actually drives, right? Even an experienced driver can still be an accident if they're not careful. question is, can their system do that, replicate that, or get it close, or is it still far away in terms of, let's say, in scale of 0 to 100%? Let's assume that a person can do the calculations 90, 95, or even higher. Where is the autopilot feature of Tesla here? Is it even anywhere close to the 90 percentile? Is it 80, 70, 60, or even lower, which is obviously kind of scary if you think about it. And obviously, Tesla is not advertising that. And the only way to test it is, to do extensive research. And obviously, if the NHTSA can do that, then maybe they'll get more data that would support what they're telling is, the vehicles is not safe in terms of, using that particular feature. But I think using the other features, amongst the other plethora of issues of Tesla, I think that's atypical for a car maker. But having that, additional feature, or applications, obviously it's not similar when you're using a smartphone or tablet or even in a laptop. But in an actual vehicle where lives are at stake here, so you have to rely on it, tremendously, that it has to work 100% of the time, not 99% or 99.9% work some of the time. It has to work all the time. Otherwise, why rely upon it? If you think about it, look at the aviation industry. Even though airplanes have autopilot feature, you don't see, airlines removing pilots from the airplane. They still have to have human intervention here. And I think if they can provide the autopilot feature, that's the first industry that would, initially adopt it before even, car manufacturers would eventually adopt the same technology as well. And if people will not rely on the autopilot feature, no one would ride airplanes anymore. And it's kind of ironic that in cars, that's not the same logic here. But that's a different discussion altogether here. Anyway, the agency goes on to mention that it is treating the investigation as an engineering analysis, which is a necessary step before a possible recall of cars that come with autopilot features. And again, it always goes back to the main caveat of, is the car safe? Now, if they were not to just to heavily push for the autopilot feature as a marketing tool, I think even customers or even I won't have a, a big problem with what they're trying to do, which is offer an alternative means to vehicles outside of combustible engine, which, sad to say, prices of all gases are skyrocketing. So having alternative means to travel is very important here. Now, what's interesting, the NHTSA mentioned that the Pro will explore the degree to which the autopilot and associated Tesla systems may exacerbate human factors or behavioral safety risks by undermining the effectiveness of driver supervision. And again, it goes back to the main concept that if people think that the car can do certain features that it cannot actually do in the first place, then people will become complacent and tend to relax and not pay attention on the road. And as in many reports in the past, that you've seen many cases in highways where people, behind the wheel sleeping, and then the police patrol will catch up and would try to knock to wake that person up, because it only takes just one small instances that when someone, overtakes or crosses in front of the vehicle, then by then it's too late, which is kind of dangerous if you think about it. Then there was another report, I think, regarding a person who intentionally uses the autopilot while sitting at the back seat, and he was caught by the police, and then he tried to do it again just to prove that the system is so reliable. Now, that's good marketing ploy for Tesla. It builds the notoriety that it does what it's intended to do. But it only takes one minute incident for a stunt to become a disaster in the making here, which I don't think anyone or even I would consider, even purchasing a Tesla vehicle moving forward here. And obviously, the caution should be exercised here as to what it can and cannot do here. And the sad fact is, obviously, people with new technology always tries to push its limits, what it can do. And I've seen many videos where it lets the car drive itself, cross major intersections, no open intersections that is heavily populated. It's kind of scary, like watching a horror film. Hoping that there's no accident, but it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time, not when. And also, the agency said it found the Tesla's warning system activated most of the time just before impact. So, which is kind of concerning when you say most of the time, but not all of the time. So, meaning is the safety mechanisms in place working as intention? And obviously, if it's using AI technology, it should work earlier rather than later, and it should give the passenger or even the driver that critical few seconds to be able to react and veer away from an oncoming vehicle, or even in a head-on collision with an obstacle or whatever that may be. It also said that the automatic emergency braking system kicked in for about half of the crashes, which is not good. So half of the time is not working. So take it as you may be, how safe it is, and those are concerning things that needs to be taken a look at, and be discussed in public as to the merits of what Tesla is doing here. And obviously Elon Musk should be held liable or put in a microscope as to what they're trying to do here. And it's not just that. It mentions that there is an investigation of almost 800 cases of the phantom braking, as I mentioned earlier, where drivers complain that their Tesla cars brake suddenly while traveling at high speed. So imagine the horror if that were to happen, and in a highway there are several other vehicles moving at high speeds, and collision is inevitable if that were to happen. So there's a lot of things, and it all stems from that autopilot feature. And if they were to just say that it is a driver assist mechanism to alleviate, let's say in highway, it can, move in a straight line or maybe change lane, but not necessarily to the point that, the driver is not paying attention on the road, could be catastrophic if we're not careful about this one. And going back here, the NTSHA mentioned that the misuse of the autopilot feature did not mean that the system was not defective, which I agree. But this is particularly the case if the driver behavior is in question is foreseeable in the light of the system's design or operation, which again, does this give a loophole for Tesla to not be responsible for this one? Because at the end of the day, two parties are involved here: the driver who bought the vehicle and the manufacturer who markets it as a fully automated or self-driving vehicle, which it is not. And until those two are working in tandem, crashes will always be inevitable, and and worst case scenario, that cases would skyrocket. And as we've seen, cars are going faster and faster here, unless we change the road conditions, making it more safer, or we make the car more safer here, because obviously human intervention or the human aspect is very limiting. We tend to make mistakes, and even in the best of scenarios, we can still be in an accident because there are other factors that we cannot control. So let alone relying on a technology that's not yet 100% foolproof, which is, it's a very dicey situation here. Hopefully, more people will start speaking up regarding this issue, so that temper expectation with regards to how Elon Musk is pushing their vehicle as a self-driving vehicle, which is technically it is not. Anyway, I'll keep everyone updated with regards to the situation with Tesla vehicles here, which it's kind of disappointing in terms of obviously what Mr. Musk is trying to do, revolutionize electric vehicle, making it more popular, but obviously trying to capitalize on its popularity by inserting a lot of software features that obviously they want to make tons of money out of it at the same time. But at the end of the day, if the car is not safe for the public, then anyway, so we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I think that's it for today. And if you have any questions, leave your comments down below and I'll try to get back to you. As always, I'll see you again next times, every Wednesday. Stay here for more business news at Business Focus.